day to everybody. This is Dr. Ortiz. I am at OCC in Baja, Mexico. I am a weight loss surgeon, and this is our Instagram live video series. And today we have a special guest, an incredible guest. In fact, she is loved by so many followers. I think she has more followers than I do. Anyways, you guys have seen the pictures. Really quickly before we're going to connect with her in a couple of seconds, but people already have a lot of questions about who we are, what we do. I'm all about patient success. So yes, I do surgeries, and you're going to see some live surgeries. We'll set some links at the end. We're going to do a live surgery, in fact, a couple of minutes after this interview. But ultimately, I'm all about education, letting patients know that there are options to change your life dramatically. And in a world where 7 out of 10 of us are overweight or obese, there's got to be a better answer than dieting. And even the word diet kind of makes me hungry. So there are other options, and one of those options is surgery. In fact, that's why we're going to be discussing this with our guest today. And ultimately, it's all about the education. The best way you can take a decision is by educating yourself on the topic. So ignorance is the worst enemy of health. And being informed, of course, will not only help you make better decisions, it'll help you make decisions and help others around you. So we're going to connect with our stellar guest, and she's going to give us a quick tour of the history of what happened. Now, it all usually starts off with a day or a moment in your life when you say, I've had enough. Some of us have been overweight all our lives. Some of us have been overweight maybe a couple of years. But ultimately, being overweight, I don't care how overweight you are, it brings undue stress in your body and your overall health, and something that's never considered on your mental health. The mental health is extremely important because, let's say, in countries, developed countries like in the United States, Canada, and Mexico for that matter, when somebody's considering having surgery, you go to your physician or your doctor, and they never take in consideration the psychological aspect of being overweight. So they only want to know if your blood sugar is going crazy, rampant, if your, let's say, blood pressure or something else. But what about the feeling that one has, the self-image, the self-love or lack of considered? And that's probably one of the worst things that can be done as physicians. So in the name of all the physicians that are out there, I'm going to say I'm sorry that we don't take into account more the psychological aspect of being overweight. And to tell us a little bit more about that, Victoria, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Well, not as good as you, because I can see from the picture, I mean, we've been following you for a while. You are an incredible inspiration. I can't do stuff like that. I can only educate people, but when I see your before and after pictures, and it's not just the before and after, it's the whole journey and the emotional expression of your life through Instagram. This is crazy, and it's cool, and it's awesome, and thank you for being here.
You know what? I first have to say thank you so much to you, Dr. Martinez, Lucia, the patient coordinators, the nurses, the shuttle drivers, everybody. Just as how when in flying, because I'm a flight attendant, we call it one crew concept. Every person matters. Same thing goes for you as well. It's just everyone is so professional, so friendly, so kind, and it's just you just make what OCC is, and you just made the entire experience amazing, effortless, easy, and it's just I know that once I leave, it's up to me, but to get there, it was all you guys. So I just have to say thank you so much for all of that too.
That means a lot, because here's the thing. When you're taking that first step and saying, am I really going to go through this? There's enough burden in your own self-esteem saying, oh, maybe I couldn't do it on my own. I'm going to have to require something additional. And people feel like they haven't been a success on their own. It's not something you can will yourself through, and people have to understand that weight loss surgery is not a cop-out. It's an actual option. I can't pull people from their environment and change their environment. So the next best thing is change their internal environment to receive this really kind of complicated and screwed up world that where we've screwed up stuff. But ultimately, I don't want to be an extra burden or an extra obstacle for you. That means now I got to go through all these steps and create even more obstacles that might put you in a disadvantage, and they might even disappoint you, and you're not going to go through a life-changing procedure. So that's my philosophy, and because we're outside the country, it's even worse because there's unfounded fears and this preconceived notion that our medicine lacks quality. So my philosophy is, as soon as you contacted me, I wanted to hold your hand. And I wanted to hold your hand, take you through the whole process, send you back home, and look at you now.
Honestly, it's just like, when people ask me about going to OCC, I'm just kind of like, well, because they're like, well, they're in Mexico. I'm like, you know what? They could have been in Paris and I would go. Like, it wouldn't matter where you were because I did my research. I looked at your reviews. I knew someone previously who went to you. And it just, time and time again, there was just all this positivity. And one of the most amazing tools out there is also Instagram. I was able to find other patients that you had done and just seeing what their experience was like. And I had never felt so comfortable and confident with my decision. And at the same time, it's just kind of like, as you said, you know, you feel that you've done all of these different methods. And that was me. You know, I've been considered obese at the age of like 9 to 10 years old. So all I've known in my life is that I've just been bigger. So you can bet that I've done everything. I've done the paleo, I've done the CrossFit, I've done the keto, done the South Beach diet, done Weight Watchers, I've done HCG hormone injections.
Wow.
Done it all. And it's just, I will say that it was kind of like, all right, well, if I go with this, like I was kind of scared. And one thing I always tell people is, because people are like, well, I'm scared. Like, I don't know. And I tell them it's totally normal to be a little scared because this is the unknown. If you're going into something like surgery, you're just like, this feels like my last resort, but what happens if it doesn't work for me? But I just say you have to have the sleeve work for you.
I'd be worried if the patient is not scared if they're coming, because then there's no commitment. So you say, how did you mitigate that fear?
Well, I just told myself the proof's in the pudding, essentially, lack of words, but it was just essentially being like, you're doing this for you. And basically I kind of tried to change my worry, my fear into being like, well, we're not going to have this fail for you. You're going to follow all of those guidelines. You're not going to kind of steer off course. I was so, and that's what I taught about it. Like, if you want to set yourself for success, then that's exactly what you need to do. You need to actually follow all the guidelines and don't cheat, because the only person you're cheating on is yourself. So I know when I was doing the pre-op diet, I'm going to be honest, by the end of it, I was so sick of protein shakes, but that is what I do. That is what I did. I had all of my like green veggies, and I can't remember, but I think it was Dr. Martinez that told my mom, he was like, that was quite an easy surgery. And I think he said, you could just tell that, like, I didn't cheat. Like, I was terrified to cheat, because I was just like, no, like, I want them to have a smooth and easy surgery, because I don't want to cheat for both them and for me, because if it's a smooth and easy surgery for them, it'll be easier for me as well as I transition into my next phase after surgery. So I have just been very diligent, even before surgery and even before the 2-week pre-op diet. I was already starting to try and change my eating habits. And a big thing is that I'm telling myself, it's not the temporary, you're doing this for now and continuously. It's for life. And that's what I keep saying over and over again.
The common denominator has always been, I see, obviously you have more than just my patients, because I have like 20,000 patients and you've got 30,000 followers. So you've got a lot of patients, either people that are in the pre-thinking about it, and most probably a lot of others that have undergone the surgery. But the common denominator of my extremely successful patients, the ones that you can see like you that inspire others, have been that they followed the guidelines, they followed the program. And our program really is unique from how we start and prep you. We obviously start you on very specific protein intake because we want to nurture that muscle mass, that lean mass. We want to create a great gut environment, intestinal environment to change that bacterial load. And at the same time, we want to remove all the toxic load when we're prepping you for surgery. Now, fortunately for us, we've been doing this for over 5 years, 5,000 patients. But it's interesting that science is now pointing that way. I was just lecturing in Oxford a couple of weeks ago, and I interviewed this guy that's supposed to be like the smartest dude in the world of obesity, metabolic disease. And they are now linking this excess weight obesity epidemic around the world, and they're blaming toxins in the environment, specifically toxins in your food. So we're probably going to have another episode, you and me, and we're going to talk about what you've done with food. But going back to the first question, so what made you click and say, you know what, I'm done with all this dieting, I'm going to find a place to do surgery, and how'd you end up with us?
I think it was, well, because as I said, all of my adult years, it was just trying the next thing, essentially. And you know, I will be honest, and this is what makes me more, because I did a recent post where there's people who just unfortunately haven't informed themselves on what surgery really is. It's not a cop-out. It's not a magic pill. Don't we wish it was, but it's not. And unfortunately, you know, I actually was one of those people probably 7 to 8 years ago where I was on my Fitness Pal and I was doing it the natural way, and then I'd see people post their befores and afters, and then they're like, they had the surgery, and I was like, well, of course you lost weight. I'm like, you had 2 bites of pizza and here you are now. I'm like, lucky you. So for a while there, unfortunately, I was just one of those people who weren't informed, and I kind of scoffed it off. But with time, I just slowly started just seeing what else was out there. And I just decided to finally inform myself. I'm like, okay, like I feel like I've done everything. Now we're looking at the gastric sleeve. And I started reading it. And you know, along with reading the benefits of it, of how it helps you learn portion control, how you can help it guide you into better habits. I was also reading statistics of how you can get weight regain after a certain amount of time, and how you may not be able to lose a certain amount if all of a sudden you just decide to fall off track. So I knew the pros and the cons of it, where it's like, okay, like the tool, then that's how I realized, oh, I'm like, it's not actually a magic pill. Like you actually have to make it work for yourself. And then that's when I was like, all right, like, am I mentally ready for this? Like, do I would feel like this would be my last little thing, but I felt like that was, it was something that clicked where I was like, you know what? I'm like, I feel like that would be the thing that I would need to be able to, because I've done the whole, like I said, I've done the whole paleo thing, and I've done CrossFit, and it didn't budge. Like nothing happened. And I would be like, what the heck? I'm like, I've been like eliminating all these foods for like months, and I'm like, nothing's happening. And I'm like, maybe if I'm like slowly doing where I'm watching what I'm eating and I incorporate with the sleeve, I'll be able to see something. And that's when I then started looking at the gastric sleeve. And then I have a friend, Krista, who's in Fort McMurray, and I know that you just did another live with someone who is in Fort McMurray. And I just asked her, I'm like, where did you go? And she's like, oh, I went to the OCC. And I was like, okay. And so then I started doing my research, and that's why I say, everyone, just do your research. Because it's funny, because I have people be like, oh, well, I was thinking of OCC, but I was thinking of other places. I'm like, okay, you can look at other places, do your research. And in my mind, I'm like, but I know you're going to choose OCC because they're amazing. But it's basically, I did my research, and then I just, after everything that I saw online, how I felt speaking to the patient coordinators and how everything was so scheduled, it was just, there was no other option. It was going to be OCC. So it was really, yeah, just trainer, only OCC. And honestly, people are like, well, would you do it again? I'm like, well, I would hope I never have to do it again, but if I had to in another lifetime, OCC once again. Like, I would find all of you guys, put you in a hospital, and go right back to you. So it's just been an amazing experience so far.
So you are an incredible, and I'm going to go through a really quick review at the end of who we are, what we do, but this is more of an inspiration, inspirational talk, because how did, from second guessing yourself on what diet, how have you become this inspiration for so many, for thousands? Why are you putting yourself out there? That's so interesting.
And you know what? It is interesting because this Instagram account, Just Finding Me, it was actually only going to be for me. It was, instead of doing a writing on a piece of paper, a diary, it was going to be my like e-diary, like my electronic diary. And I was just going to do my little videos and pictures and just tracking my updates, but it was just going to be for me because this account was private and I was just the one person who was on it. You go all the way back to my original post. It's me talking on a video, just being like, "Hi, I'm Victoria. I decided to do this as a diary thing, so here we go." And I've done everything, and then that's when I slowly was like, and now I'm thinking of the sleeve. And then I decided, one of the biggest things as to why I started going on Instagram and felt even more comfortable with the sleeve is that although you can read the statistics, so see the befores and afters on computer or on your phone, for example, something like Instagram, I was like, but how are people living with the sleeve? I'm like, oh, what is that like? And for me, Instagram was such an amazing tool because I was like, is it doable? Is it manageable? What are your portions like? What are they like? And the great thing about Instagram is you're seeing people who've been sleeved 1 month post-op, 1 year post-op, 4 years post-op, and you're able to see, well, oh, that's what life is like with the sleeve. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, I know I was doing this for me, but those who were on Instagram, and some answered back, some didn't, but those who answered back and those who were very like open about their journey was so helpful for me, just knowing that I could go ahead with this too. I could live with this and I can make this work for me. So I decided, you know what? Take off that private option and be public. And I honestly, to this day, I had this account for just less than 2 years, and the amount of people who are part of my journey. And it's funny, I have a hard time even calling them followers. I call them my Instagram friends because I just kind of know where they've been, where they're at. And the cool thing is that I feel with my account, some of them are on their own weight loss journey and maybe they're thinking of the sleeve or maybe they're not. But if they're not, it still lets them see what it is like with the life of someone with a sleeve. So it's like, don't judge them. I've had people be like, thank you so much, because I had a parent who was sleeved at OTC and I didn't understand what they were going through. And now that what you're saying and what you're portraying and what you actually post, like I get it now. And I just have had people be like, I'm trying to do it the natural way, but it's nice to see that if I need to have the sleeve, then it's possible. And I have other people be like, I don't need the sleeve, I'm doing this on my own, but you're just an inspiration of just what you've been able to do. And then some people go, I actually think it's even harder to lose weight with the sleeve now because of everything you've had to do. So it's just, it's a mix of everyone, a mix of Instagram friends, as I say, and the most amazing thing is that it's just supporting, everyone's just supporting one another. And it's funny because they say, oh, like you're an inspiration, you're a motivation, you da-da-da. And I'm like, it's you guys actually that are a motivation and make me feel supported and keep me accountable as well. I think it's like a hand-in-hand thing. So it's just been, this account is not what I thought it ever was. It's funny, to think that it began as just account for me, and now it's like, now we're here, and now I'm here with you, and I'm just like, what is going on?
It's incredible, it's beautiful, and look, at the end of the day, whatever we do in life, I know we are blessed to bless others. And that, for me, that's the most important thing. I am in a privileged situation where I can serve others. But it's beautiful to see that so are you. And you have all walks of life in different stages of their life, in different stages of their weight loss journey, some with, some without. But ultimately, they're all here together celebrating you, your journey, and your success. So later on, for those of, there's obviously going to be a lot of questions. They're actually starting to pour in. And we'll have a little bit of chance, hopefully, to answer some of those questions. But since I have the first option to ask the question, I'm going to ask you, what are those things that somebody else helped you to take the next right step, either before or after surgery, when you were looking online, that gave you that responsibility to say, no, I got to open up this account because they helped me, now it's my time to help them?
You know, it was a mix. I think a big thing was just people being honest with their accountability, where they're like, you know what, I had weight regain because of ... They said they were eating for comfort, or they're eating a lot of snack foods, or that they just kind of slide in them like, okay, and then they go, but I'm putting myself back on the wagon, etc. And they're just so it was people who were just truthful with their accounts, showing what their portions were like, because it's at the same time when you're sleeved and you're like, okay, so my stomach is the shape of a banana, but like what can I eat? I'm like, is it how it is? And so people showing, it was just the reality of being able to have the sleeve in the real life. Because I think at the same time, if say something before like a social media account like Instagram didn't exist, you're kind of like, okay, it can be sleeve, but like, what's life like? So now you learn tips and tricks. You're like, oh, I'll order from the kids menu. Oh, I will order my whatever beverage I have, and then I'll just ask the waiter or waitress just to bring my appetizer meal in like 20 minutes, so that you have the or the vice versa, etc. And it's just been like people showing, and then honestly, of course, the befores and afters, or the then and now, those pictures were amazing. But it was also great to see how people's mental health really changed for them. How it just it just clicked, that they're like, if I take care of my body will take care of me, and I will feel better to then want to take care of myself. And it's like this cycle. And just seeing that in almost every account, I was just like, okay, like they helped me. I'm like, maybe I should then be out there and maybe I can help the next person. And that's basically in it. Just seeing the reality with the sleeve, and knowing that it's not a scary thing. It's just, you make it work for you, and you can live with it, and life's great. Life's great with the sleeve. I'm so thankful for it, because I've gained so much life from it. I don't want to get emotional, but I've gained so much from it. It's been amazing.
Bring those tears on. Fear of failure is probably the biggest thing I get when patients are contacting me for the first time. There's a small feature on our website that says "Ask Dr. Ortiz," and it goes directly to my messaging system, to my iPhone. So I usually answer. I mean, either I'm between surgeries or back at home cooking, because the wife makes me cook. I did say that the last time. Hopefully someday she hears that and gives me a break. But I answer, and the biggest fear I see is fear of failure. And when did you know that the surgery and your whole following the program was taking this incredible effect on your body, and you suddenly stopped looking back and you started looking forward? Was there a moment in your post-op that you said, wow, this is incredible, let's take it to the next level?
I think it was, you know what, I think it was even probably a couple weeks post-op. I've had a lot of people ask, like, how was your experience post-op? Like, what was your pain like? What were you like in a bed for weeks? And I go, actually, because I've had my gallbladder removed. I got it removed in 2008. And that was like my first time doing any type of major surgery. And I felt that I had been run over by a dump truck. Like, I was actually in a bed for like a week, because that felt like true abdominal surgery. Like, I felt that I had been like punctured right through, and it was awful. It was painful. So I was kind of scared when people were like, oh, well, with the gastric sleeve, it's kind of similar to gallbladder surgery. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, okay, we can do this though. We can still do this. And then I like woke up, and then the nurse was like, okay, you can walk. And I'm like, huh? And then I like started getting up, and I was like, oh, I'm getting up. And then I'm like, huh, I'm walking. I can walk. I was just like, what? It was like night and day. I remember by the time that we left the hospital with my mom, we were at the hotel that was right across from the shopping mall, and I was walking and I was shopping and I was living life the next day after surgery, and it was just like, huh? Like, I'm like, did I have surgery? I'm like, okay, well, I see some incisions, but it was like tender. There was no pain, and it was just, so I feel because I didn't feel like I was pushed back in a bed and like feeling like I couldn't move. Because I had that, I was like, wow, I'm like, this is great. I'm like, I'm able to already start moving, obviously not do crazy exercises, but I was already feeling better and than I ever would have imagined. And then just being able to just continue on from there. By a couple of weeks, like I didn't even have the tenderness really. It was such an easy breezy post-op that after that, and there was that interesting phase where I had to set reminders on my phone to eat and to drink, because the connection wasn't there. I was like, oh right, I'm like, I should drink now. Oh right, I should eat now. And of course you see the weight falling for a little bit, and then the whole 3-week stall occurs. But then I was like, no, yeah. I'm like, though this stall might happen, just keep going, see what happens. And yeah, time and time again, I keep telling myself, nope, keep going. I made myself to not turn to one of those people who sees the scale every day. I know for some people that works. For me, it doesn't. So I kept going. And then I would probably say, just to answer your question, a few weeks into it, I was feeling so good. Like I had probably lost at that point, because I was like 218 before pre-op. I did my pre-op diet and I was 201. So I'd already lost about 15, 16 pounds between then. And then like a couple weeks later, I had lost another like 15. Like I had already lost 30 pounds in the first like 2 months, that I just like, my body already felt that difference. And just, I was like, as I said before, when you start feeling good, you're eating good, you want to continue that. I just kept going. And then with that, like, I just kept feeling better, and years that just made me want to keep going. And it just ignited this fire in me that I was like, even if you see a stall, even if you don't see a change in your numbers, just know that there's something going on. And what I like to tell people as well is that even though right now you're not seeing a change physically, there are changes going on internally. You're eating well. Your body needs those nutrients and those minerals and those vitamins. So just keep doing it. You're going to see those changes soon enough. I'm like, it may not be physical right now, it's definitely happening inside though. So it's just, I would say just within weeks, I was just feeling so good, just pushed me to keep going. So it was just, and I haven't stopped. Clearly, don't want to either.
So there's a question about a pre-op diet and some other questions regarding to the preoperative phase, and you basically went through it exactly like most of our patients do. There is a reason. If you go online and you compare different destinations for weight loss surgery, you're going to find that our patients recover quicker. They're walking around in a couple of hours. They're shopping around the next day. No drains, no pain, etc., etc. This is the general average of our patients. Why? Well, because we've been doing this 20 years and 20,000 patients in. I was here before and even surgery was popular. I was at the right time, right place. So for those of you shopping around, shop around for quality. You shop around for price, you're going to pay it in pain and discomfort and complications, and sometimes even more. Look for a certified center, not those folks that make their own websites or those that have brokers that are going to steer you to one single money-making outfit. You want to look for third-party credentials that say these guys have been accredited by Joint Commission International or Surgical Review Corporation, whatever, as long as they're not patting themselves on the back. I'm not driving patients to us. We're booked for months. This is crazy. But you know what? It's my obligation to give the best, fastest, quickest, safest, most effective procedure that can alter your life for the better. It should be as uneventful as possible. I can't make it enjoyable. The drugs may make you feel really cool, but ultimately it has to be a quick 72 hours. You come in, do what you have to do, because you've already gone through all these things in your head saying, am I really going to do it? The fear of the unknown. I've done my homework, but I'm still second guessing myself. My family members are not supporting me, etc., all this stuff. But once you go through the procedure, and you're saying you were one of those, that you wake up and you're like, oh, is that it? That's pretty cool. So that in itself can make other people that are looking into this saying, can it really be this quick? Yes, but select the center appropriately. Most important, if you're staying in the country, do the same thing. Not all centers are created equal. Our program is really, I kind of mentioned this at the beginning. We're doing 3 things before you go into surgery. Number 1, we want to be sure that you're a good candidate. But we're going to prep you from a protein, from a lean mass perspective. We want you to have the best non-toxic protein possible. And I know you were like saying, I'm tired of this protein. But ultimately, the protein we use is a non-toxic. It's verified that it has a non-toxic profile because concentrated proteins have concentrated toxins. And it defeats the purpose of putting you under a surgery and wanting to change your whole metabolism if I'm feeding you more toxins. So a good clean source of protein, that in turn helps your muscle mass and your lean mass conserve itself as you're losing the weight. So I'm trying to compensate for a malnourishment you have before the surgery, and I'm trying to compensate for the one you're going to get after you start losing weight. I'm also recreating gut health, intestinal health, because I'm going to give you some live bacteria that's supposed to reestablish the normal bacteria that is really in charge of regulating your absorption pattern of nutrients, micronutrients, sugars, eliminating toxins, etc. We now know that it's the gut that can produce health, or lack of it can produce disease. And lastly, I'm removing the toxic load by changing what you're eating before the surgery. And since we've gotten to that point, how has your whole approach to food and eating and your taste changed?
Completely different now. Honestly, before surgery and just also with what previous career, I was working in medicine prior to flying. I just had a really stressful job. I had a really stressful life, and I ate out of convenience and I ate out of comfort. So whatever was readily available, and generally that's fast food, I would eat it. And it's funny because you say you eat out of comfort. So you're like eating it and your taste buds are like, okay, yeah, we're happy. But then after, you're not comforted at all. You're like, oh.
Exactly.
So if you think about it, is it really looking for comfort now that I'm thinking about it? Like, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you always felt bad after. So what? But now it's just, I take the time in my food. And honestly, I realize now, because at first, if you had asked me a couple years ago, like, do you think you'll ever be one of those girls that like cook at home, like for you and your significant other? I'm like, no. I'm like, we're gonna like have lean cuisine, or I don't know, take out. Like, I never saw myself as someone who. And for example, now, fast forward a few years later, I made salmon and salad for myself and my significant other a few days ago. And it was really easy. The salmon took like 5 minutes to prep, 15 minutes to cook. That was 20 minutes to make salmon, and the salad was there. So it was just, it doesn't take very long. Like, it's just, you can make things work for you. And it's just, and now I can tell the difference when I eat something that isn't really nourishing for me. So if I don't eat something that, if I eat something greasy, it doesn't happen a lot, but when I eat something greasy, when I eat something just very processed, I can just tell, like my stomach can tell, my whole body can just tell, and I feel and like you kind of get that like sugar high for a few minutes, but then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you just crash. So I find that when you start just eating cleaner, you can slowly start noticing when you eat something that's kind of not what you've been eating for the last little bit, and your body's like, it's like your body's natural response being like, whoa, 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 what are we eating right now? What are you wanting me to digest at this moment? So because of that, I don't really do it that much because I know how I'll feel even sometimes during while I'm eating it. And it's not even people are like, oh well maybe it's muddling. I'm like, no, like I can tell my stomach's like, whoa, like it's not. And so and I almost appreciate that I've just been able to completely change my I don't like to say diet because then I feel it's restriction, and restriction
Exactly.
doesn't work for my personality and the way I think. And I just call it my food plan, and I live a life of moderation. So for me, I will say that it's probably about 80-20, 90-10, where 90% of the time I'm eating clean. And then just for me to know that I'm not like restricting or going back into like this my binging mode from before, because I don't do that at all. Now I'm just happier eating well as to not eating well, and it's just completely changed. Now I'm cooking at home because I'm happy to cook at home, and I'm excited to make these meals, and I'm like, what else can I create now? And it's totally changed my mind concept on the entire thing.
And you're going to get some people being a little bit of pessimistic and saying that can't be true. Folks, it is true. It's crazy. It all starts with one small step, and you don't really have to have surgery. It just takes that one single step of saying, do I really need this discomfort food? By the way, diet is a four-letter word. Instead of being a comfort food, it really is a discomfort food. You eat that stuff, and you're uncomfortable after it. You've got this guilt stuff, and learning step by step, one single thing you learn in just one thing a day is going to slowly accumulate, and over time you become an expert. Your body has actually changed, not only just your taste buds, your body's requesting you to, you know what, you need more protein. So you're eating more protein, but your body does that. People question me, it's like, how can that be true? Can you prove it? It's like, yeah, I can prove it. You ever seen a pregnant woman eat soap? That's the body requesting certain micronutrients. You ever heard of kids eating dirt when they're 2 years old? That's the body requiring iron. So there is this called thing, pica, where your body actually is asking you for stuff, and that's why you have changed dramatically what you eat or how you perceive food and how you assimilate from a mental aspect. This is better be good for me. If not, it's like I don't I don't crave it. I don't want it. How about the exercise? How has that changed?
That has changed too. And just as you going back to being like, I don't believe that. Like, how could you change? That was me. If you had asked me 2 years ago, you're going to become this person that likes cooking salmon and having salad on the side. You're going to be this person that likes working out. You're going to be this person who's just going to be happier in all aspects of her life. I'll be like, you're crazy. I don't believe that. Like, it just, you live in, for years, I just lived in this own world that I created that was just litly dim, and it was just negative, and you just always self-sabotage where you're like, oh well, you ate pizza for lunch, so might as well just throw out the rest of your day. And you're so used to being so negative towards yourself that you're like, there's no way I can ever break out of this cycle. But you absolutely can. And as you said, sleep or no sleep, you can definitely break out of the cycle. Exercise, I actually just answered someone's question through direct message earlier today, because she's like, what do you do for exercise? How does it work with the sleep? Like, I'm scared of where I'm at post-op, that this might be too much or too little. And it's amazing that you, even at OCC, have those, you kind of have those milestones. You have the food milestones, you also have the exercise milestones, which is amazing because it's so helpful to have that, because at the same point, you're like, well, what should I be doing at this point? And the fact that you have everything just laid out, prepared for someone like me. You can even ask my boyfriend Henry. I'm OCD. I like my planned lists. I like my charts, and you have that all. That where it just comes to what workout milestones are. You know, for the first few months, you're just doing walking, you're doing some fast walking, and then you eventually lead yourself up to where you're at the half year mark, etc. You're then doing a bit more vigorous cardio. You're then doing your weights, etc. You have it all laid out, and that's exactly what I followed as well. And it's funny though, because throughout that, because you're feeling so good and you're seeing that weight come off and you're feeling lighter on your feet and you're having more energy, you kind of want to like already go into the, but I want to do the high intensity interval training stuff, but I can't though, because I need to be still a little bit patient with my body, because it's still healing. Even though I don't feel any pain, I know it's still healing. And it's like, no, I know to take my time. There's a reason as to why you have it all laid out, as to why you do at everything at every stage. Because I know I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I know if you go something into super vigorous right after surgery, you could possibly develop a hernia. And the same thing goes if you're lifting weights or anything like that. You have to be careful. So just the fact that you have that all laid out, I've once again, with the food milestones and the food guidelines, followed it. With the workout milestones and guidelines, followed it. And yeah, like I said though, you're almost eager and anxious to want to go hard even earlier than you're supposed to, because you're like, but I'm feeling so good already. So
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Our program has been designed in the past 20 years. I've been intensely working on a smartphone app that integrates everything. It can measure your blood sugar. It can tell you from a pre-op standpoint, you need stretching and flexibility exercises, and it shows you videos customized, recorded here at our studio, et cetera, et cetera. We've integrated every single part of this because ultimately it really is my responsibility. I don't want to say surgery and then send you back home and see how you can. There's enough resources from a scientific standpoint that I'm obliged to give you a list, and then you can select how intense you want to follow it. But it's obvious that you followed it, and it gave you the enthusiasm you needed. This I got this one, now I'm going to the next one, and you kept on just slowly taking each step at a time that took you to success, and it shows.
Thank you. And that app is thing. I hope it comes out soon, or is it already out?
So there's a few questions. So one of the things is I'm going to ask here people, our friends here at the office, to put our link, because I'm getting a lot of medical questions. Those they can email me directly, Dr. Ortiz, DRORTIZ at obesitycontrolcenter.com. That's my email. I'll answer each and every email. That's my responsibility. That's what I like doing. But there's like an important one that says, what about BMI? I want to dispel some myths, and this is one of the most important things. Insurance carriers in the U.S. have put some restrictions on who can get weight loss surgery and who can't. Let me tell you from a scientific standpoint, I have the privilege to be able to interact with some of the most the brightest minds in the world. We were just in Oxford a couple of weeks ago with some of them. And one of the most important things that we've agreed in the past several years is that if you have high blood sugar, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, any of these metabolic diseases, or if you're seeing an increase in your blood pressure or in your blood sugars, etc., and even if you're not overweight, surgery can be warranted. Surgery could be the answer. That's how effective surgery is. It changes your metabolic patterns. So happy once, just like you, once you wake up and you're like, wow, that was it. That was quick. And then you start reintegrating yourself to life. And then there's a lot of haters out there or misinformed people. I don't know if you had that problem. People, loved ones, close people that said, oh, you can't be going to Mexico or whatever, having these stupid opinions without having a fundament or an actual research background, just speaking out of common, not even common sense, let's say preconceived notion.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I did the research, so before you give me your opinion, how you do the research too, because clearly you haven't done it yet. And yeah, honestly, I'm very thankful that the first two people I told were my parents, and right away off the bat, they were so supportive of it, you know. And of course, they've been there the entire time. They know that I've tried everything. I did everything that I could, and then I told them, you know, before I was like, well, I was thinking of getting I told them. They were like, oh, you've done your homework. Because I was like, I'm thinking of getting the gastric sleeve, and I was like, and I'm gonna get an OC, and they do this and they do this, and they have the double Bucci technique, and da 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 da, and they were just like, oh, okay, like you've looked into this. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, I did my research, I'm confident with this. So it's not even like I'm asking for your opinion, I'm just letting you know I have confirmed and decided that this is what I'm doing.
And somebody's asking if it's safe in Tijuana, how about the surgery? So many questions. Look, ultimately, let me put it to you this way. There's a combination of two things. After 20,000 surgeries and social media being like it is, people would know if something happened down here. I've done 20,000 surgeries. People are back home. They've changed their lives. And that's why there's this huge movement on online of people interacting with other people that are looking into this and saying, really, you went down to, yes. They didn't steal your organs? Well, maybe some, but I weigh less, so that's all good and well. What else? All these myths that are out there, it's really simple. Do your homework. Go to the website you're looking at. Go to a reputable website. Okay, what's that? All right. Yeah, we're 5 minutes away from finishing, but I think we should cut it short because I got to go into the operating room. But anyways, all that stuff is going to be online. We're going to put some links at the end of this. We're going to repost it on Facebook. But how about a proposal? You've got so much stuff that I've seen that you post that we haven't even touched upon. Why don't we do this kind of regularly? Once in a while, let's talk about lifestyle. Let's talk about food. I do some cooking of my own, so I got the Latin thing and French thing going on. I made a beautiful French casserole yesterday that I learned when I was in England. So stuff like that. So why don't we set up some future dates?
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. I know that there were some people who had questions, and I know there's only so much time that we have, and I don't want them thinking that we're not going to answer them, because I know we both want to. It's just, of course, time constraints, and you have to go to the OR. But I would absolutely love to do that in future. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So let's think of some stuff. You have some homework. Go ahead and right now that you have the ability, set up all your crowd and ask them what are the top 5 questions we can address, and maybe one specific topic, and then we can get back together in several weeks and then do something more directed to a specific topic. Maybe food, maybe exercise, maybe, I don't know, the prep time before surgery, whatever topic comes up.
Sounds great. I will definitely do that.
Beautiful. So my wholeheartedly congratulations to you. It's incredible what you're doing for other folks. Some people say that, oh, what you do touches lives. No, what you do touches lives. Because I can only do so much. I can do the surgery. But you are inspiring people that maybe don't even need surgery or are going to want surgery. People that can change their lives with a single post. They're going to say, wow, I could do this. And it all starts with one simple decision saying, all right, I believe. And maybe let's call the show I Believe. And start from there. Anyways, I want to thank you for the opportunity to discuss so many topics, and let's see when we can get back together again. We'll figure out some dates and we'll post them live.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for reaching out as well. I'm super glad we could do this.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye, honey. Bye, everybody.